Hello, my dear gardeners. It is good to be back. And let me tell you, when the gardener takes a step back and disappears from the garden and takes that controlling hand away, garden suddenly takes off and claims new territories over and over again. I came back to my garden and cucumbers are rolling over my boxwoods, roses are being pushed by big shrubs, flowers are being trampled by raccoons at night going for apples, and all the things are looking quite overgrown. The end of August is the time when season is at its highest fullness in the garden. So, let's talk today about my favorite tricks how to keep all the plants on the patio happy through the vacation. And also I'm going to show you the cutest little nook which I filmed during my vacation on a plot, let's say 5 meters by 5 meters. And it's a good example to show us that if a gardener gardens on a small lot, the beautiful paradise is still possible. So let's begin. The trick of keeping plants happy would be to have either irrigation system set up or a very happy neighbor who is wonderful and willing to come every day to do the watering of the pots. But besides that, so years of gardening, I figured out that the soil has to be water retentive in the pots. So once the gardener comes in and does the watering, that soil keeps a lot of water. So full garden soil doesn't work in pots. I like to mix garden soil with potting mix, which is water retentive by its nature from the garden center. And another trick is to have a saucer under the pots. Very important. As you can see right now, I really watered my salvia, and the water in the saucer is there. It's a good sign that water went all the way through the pot. And again, you have to know your plants. Some plants are very thirsty, and usually plants with feathery foliage, from my experience, have bigger evaporation rate. For example, this lace flower. Look at this huge, strong plant. It is not suited for pots. Look at the behavior. I'm not sure what happened here through my vacation, but looks like some big animal went in, either squirrels or I don't know what, but look at the damage here, right in the middle of the pot. Salvia is still pushing its growth, it's healing its wounds and still growing. It looks a little bit unsightly, so probably I will do the trimming and let salvia create other new shoots. So lace flower has very strong evaporation, so all these little feathery airy leaves, and this pot can take I would say 4 gallons of water easily a day. So if you have thirsty plants in your pots, make sure that you have sources under the pots, and make sure that you instruct your neighbor, whoever is watering your plants, to water them to the point that water appears in the sources. I do take a step further, and what I did, I bought for my annuals, which are heavy drinkers too, I bought these long trays for shoes, and I put them all, I collect all the pots from the area, from my lot, and I put them here on the sunny location, and I fill those trays with water, and my plants are quite happy, since I instruct my neighbor to water it so well that water is filled to the brims in these pots, And don't worry, plants are not going to drown. Some gardeners worry that it's very bad for plants. Yes, it is for a long time, but for a short time of a vacation of a week, you can see here my plants are quite happy. Also, to make the neighbor's job easier, what I do, I put a big bucket near the watering hose, and my neighbor probably was just filling that bucket with water, and to fill the watering cans from that bucket would be so much easier and quicker. So water is running, filling the bucket, and then I do it all the time in my garden. And then I just run with my watering can, dipping it in the water and bringing it out into the garden. It's just much faster. Instead of filling that bucket with water from the hose, waiting for that bucket to be filled. Look at my hostas. These are baby hostas, and they are doing well. I'm glad that they are a little bit burnt on the sun. I try to hide them here. You see, this is a sun damage. Hostas don't like to have a lot of sun. I try to hide them here behind my azalea. Still a lot of sun. So this is it. How to keep my plants happy in my garden. Tips for you. And now, let's talk about my vacation, where I went and what interesting garden nook I filmed. Well, every year we go to Cape May. Look at these cucumbers. Na. Happy growers. And we visit Cape May Point, where that place is famous, New Jersey, the southern tip of New Jersey. And that Sunset Beach is famous for a beautiful sunset in the ocean. Very unusual thing for the eastern coast of United States to have a sunset on the ocean. And there is this Marinist house where we stay. And the Marinist house has a very little garden. And this year, the brothers and the priest in that garden, they created a totally enclosed little reading nook. And I was exploring it with my video, which I filmed specially for you. Because I know that a lot of gardeners which garden on small lots feel that they can do nothing with that little space. Well, you can. You can create that little enclosure where you can sit and read your book or work and feel like you are in this little green space. So let's watch this video and maybe we will learn something. Also, Brother Esteban is growing different Mexican spices and plants which I was totally unfamiliar with. So he will show us several of those unusual plants for United States. Enjoy. Good morning, my dear gardeners. Today I am in Cape May and I want to show you how a little paradise is created on the smallest piece of land. Look at this. This area is between the retreat center where we are locating today. It's Cape May, very close to the ocean. You might even hear the waves in the distance. And near the parking lot and all the towels, beach towels on the lines, here is a little nook of a garden. And it's filled with sunflowers and crepe myrtle blooming away. Cape May is warm enough for crepe myrtle to be a nice and healthy, stately tree. And thanks to a very clever use of windows, right here, mirrors, window frames, tall annuals and perennials, brothers and the priest here were able to create a little paradise. I want to show you how everything is growing here under their very tender care. Brother Esteban comes here from Mexico, and some of the plants I really don't know. For example, this one It's a very well-known Mexican spice.
It's in Mexico we call epazote. I was doing some research in English and I found something that says Jewish tea, but I don't know if that's true. But I'm sure that it's epazote in Mexico, and you can use for chicken soup, quesadillas, or you can use for any kind of food that you want to put this. So, and again, this is a tropical plant. This is the very tiny flower here. It's a white thing, very tiny. Once the plant dies, you just harvest cut the little pieces and save, and you will and dry, and you will have seeds for planting next year. So it's very nice. I mean, it's very good, very tasty also.
Very strong scent. Here we have peppers. Do we have any peppers here? Oh yeah, there are little peppers there. Very healthy looking. Asparagus, having its very small space, I must say, here. Look at this. Look at the mirror. And here I am with the camera filming for you. I was thinking that when you have a small space, and the usage of mirrors is so important. Stately arborvitaes are dividing this little garden from another property. And in the middle of the garden there is a little quiet nook, very private garden room, which is literally 15 feet by 15 feet, and you can sit there and have the most lovely cup of tea. Let's go inside. So in the front of this room there is this plant growing, which I don't know what it is. Again, Brother Esteban will tell us.
So this plant that you see here, it's chia. See the very tiny seed. This is usually a tropical plant. So here in this place is a cool place. So you must to plant every other year. I mean every year, because it will die during the winter. So it's a nice plant because rabbits and squirrels, they don't touch or even eat. So it's a good plant that you can put around your garden as a little fence and create a nice garden. So it makes a purple flower like this tree here, and it's beautiful. So it's just amazing how really grew up. So yeah.
So it had all its growth this year, and it is kind of putting a very narrow wall in the front. So when you look at it from the parking lot, it's just a big clump of greenery. But when you look to the side, where this little hibiscus is growing, and of course everything is protected by all sorts of interesting nettings, you look inside here, and there is a little sitting area under the tree. And let me tell you, during the day it's a very welcomed shade here. Papaya tree. I'm not sure if it will survive winter, but it's growing here happily. Look at this. What do we have here? Milkweed is growing among squashes and strawberries. And happy tomatoes. Oh, and you know what? I like how are those zucchinis? I'm not sure what that is. Growing happily on the evergreen shrubs here. Pumpkins, maybe. It's a happy jungle here. I like it. And stately sunflowers are standing tall as soldiers. So when you sit here in this little nook, you are really in a very enclosed space. So there is a table and several good chairs. And who cares that there is a parking lot just a meter away? It's really a well-enclosed space. This little nook gives hope to all of us who garden on small area of land and really are desperate for a little privacy. You can see that the space is well loved. It's an outdoor space. What books were read in this chair? What birds and butterflies visited this garden?
And I hope you enjoy the Mary's garden here. Thanks.